Welcome back to the Pittsburgh podcast, where we talk about all things injury and all things personal injury, medical malpractice concerning your rights and your ability to recover and compensate it for your injuries. I am serving as your host, Frank Walker of Frank Walker Law, and today we want to talk specifically about underinsured motorist coverage and uninsured motorist coverage. Now, as I'm sure you're aware, as you've seen the commercials, as you're looking at your monthly bills, everyone is required to carry automobile insurance if you have an automobile. If you're driving in Pennsylvania, you are required to have insurance. If you have a daughter, son, kids who are driving, they're required to have insurance. Now, you may not have the maximum coverage, but there's a minimal amount that you must have. And depending on when you're viewing it, so what time you're viewing it, you know what those amounts are. Now, here's the question. You talk about the different insurance companies, the Safe Autos, the Geicos, the Progressives. Oh, you can give us, $10 or $50. We'll get you insured and get you on the road. Well, what type of coverage do you think that's going to be? How well do you think that coverage is going to cover you if you're injured by that person who only has the minimal amount, or a person who has no insurance and they're driving and they get cited for no insurance? And I can tell you, being cited for no insurance, the worst you're probably going to end up doing is paying a fine, maybe some community service, and then proof that you got your insurance reinstated or you got some insurance. That's from the criminal defense side. But if you're driving without insurance and you hit someone and you cause an accident by driving recklessly or driving negligently, and you have no insurance and you injure someone and you cause massive injuries or minor injuries, you're in trouble. Not only you being the person driving without insurance, but you being the person who are the victim of someone who is driving without insurance. Because if your insurance covers so much and their insurance only covers so much, then let's say your injuries are $20,000 worth of medical bills, prescription medication, rehabilitation, chiropractic bills. Let's say it goes about $20,000. They have no insurance. Who's going to pay for that insurance? Who's going to pay for those injuries? Who's going to pay for those bills while they're piling up? Let's say they have minimal insurance of $10,000, where there's going to be a gap between the two. Who's going to bridge the gap? You think they're just going to magically come up with $10,000 out of their pocket? I can tell you that's probably not going to be the case. Because if that were the case, they probably would have a higher threshold of insurance. The reality is, anytime someone doesn't have sufficient amount of insurance or they don't have any insurance, it's up to the premiums you've been paying to your insurance company to recover for your injuries, even though they were as a result of someone else's negligence or recklessness. So what happens? First, you go after the person who is what they call the tortfeasor, who is a negligent party. They are the defendant. You go after them first. See what type of insurance they have. Are they able to compensate you for your injuries? If they are not, and you reach the point where you have all the information, whether it be an affidavit of no insurance, whether it be a letter from the insurance company saying that this is all we have, this is our declaration sheet, this is all they have, the insurance they have, and we're going to tender that amount to you for your injuries. I'm sorry, this is all they had. You take that and you go to your insurance company, or your attorney can go to your insurance company and say, listen, they maxed out on what they were able to pay for and compensate for our injuries. We are now looking to you to cover us for the remaining balance of our medical bills and remaining balance of our chiropractic bills or prescriptions that we are due or we are owed or we need to be paid as a result of the negligence of someone else. It seems counterintuitive that your insurance that you've been paying for now is required to cover as a result of someone else's injuries. But literally, when you are paying your premiums for your insurance every single month, make sure you look at your declaration sheet. That shows all the coverage you have. You have $100,000 for this incident or $300,000 for this incident. Look at the line that says underinsured motorists or uninsured motorists. It's probably a couple of more dollars per month every time you drive in Pennsylvania. But it's imperative that you have it, because if you do not, and you get into an accident as a result of someone else, which you cannot control if you're going to get into an accident, because you don't know who's out there driving. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. But if you're able to protect yourself for an additional $5, $10 a month with your insurance company, it probably makes sense to do that. Make sure you have that coverage in your declaration sheet. Pull out your declaration sheet. If you don't know where it is, pull out your app, look it up and say, or call your insurance company. Say, can you fax me a copy of my declaration sheet so I can see what I'm paying for uninsured or underinsured motorist coverage, and I can see what the limits are? Because if you have that and you need it, you want an attorney who can say, okay, I know this person who's a tortfeasor, they don't have enough. So we need to go and look somewhere else for coverage for your injuries. I know as an experienced attorney, I know you have insurance coverage. You have uninsured and underinsured. I'm going to write a letter to your insurance company and make sure they are aware that this person doesn't have sufficient coverage. And now we're looking to them to see if they can bridge the gap and or fully compensate you for your injuries. Because if they do not, then there's a different type of lawsuit that may come into play. And you want an attorney who's able to look for that and understand all the nuances that come into play when you're talking about uninsured or underinsured motorists, especially in the state of Pennsylvania. As always, any questions, feel free to give us a call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 412-532-6805, or visit us online at frankwalkerlaw.com.